chosen to read from the Lore of Light. It's stories from the lives of the prophets, and Hajj Amina was the one who wrote this book. So I'm contemplating if I should read the one I chose, because it's a little bit long. So I don't know how you all feel. Are we good with it? Mm-hmm. If it's too long, let me know. Next time it won't be this long. And it's it might be from the beginning, so some people who've been in Islam for a long time may be necessary to hear it again from time to time. For those of us who have forgotten, maybe it's sometimes good to hear it. So I am choosing stories that are from the beginning, so I apologize for my choices, but I believe that they're necessary. This one is from the chapter of the creation of the universe. I chose this because we're going to start from the beginning, and there's a series of these books of the Lore of Light. This is a series 1. So I'm going to read from this, and I really I believe that these books should be read. All of the stories in them are amazing. I'm going to skip a lot of it from the beginning of the creation of the universe, but we'll just jump so that the story is not so long. But Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allah first created mind, pen, and then mankind. And please be patient with my reading, my eyes aren't so great. The Holy Prophet ﷺ said, Allah created mankind in the midst of darkness, and then He showered light upon them. All those who were touched by this light reached to guidance. Those who were not touched by it remained in error. The Holy Prophet ﷺ was asked by his companions, "What shall we answer when they ask about the beginnings of creation?" He answered them, "Say the first thing to have been created was the mind of Muhammad, ﷺ, then the soul of Muhammad, then the light of Muhammad, thereafter the pen and the tablets. After this, the Lord created the divine throne from a green gem. After this, Allah Almighty created the 4 angels to raise up the throne and to bear it aloft. And on the day of judgment, they will be 8, as the Lord Himself has spoken. Upon that day, 8 shall carry above them the throne of thy Lord." The sure reality, 17. Then Allah Almighty created the soul, the ruh, and no one can know it but the Almighty Lord. It is written in the Tafsir al-Qadi, Allah Almighty created the soul as a gem which does not perish, for it is made of the divine essence. These interpretations are from the companions al-Qadi and Tabari. The Lord created the 2 groups of the souls, the higher and the lower souls. The higher souls belong to the angels and to mankind. The lower souls belong to the Jinn and the devils. The spirits of plants and animals are of nature. They live and they die and are returned to nature without reward or punishment. Then the Lord created the divine court, and its splendors are untold. Compared to its immensity, all the 7 heavens and the 7 earths are as a tiny ring lost in a huge desert. But in relation to the divine throne, it is nothing but a single pearl dropped into the limitless ocean. The Holy Prophet ﷺ beheld it during his night journey and his ascension to the throne. It is situated immediately below the throne. So glory be to Him, in whose hand is the dominion of everything, and unto whom you shall be returned. Yasin 83. The Lord created the air and the wind, which has so many wings. Allah only knows their number. Then He created the water. Wind stirs the water, and it surges up in waves. From the waves rise vapor and steam, and these become the foam of the sea. And the sea became solid by the command of the Almighty. And there were formed from it mountains firmly grounded, as many mountains as there had been waves. And Allah alone knows their number. Then the Lord created Jabal Kaf, a spiritual mountain. which surrounds the whole world as if it were wrapped around it, and it is made of all the green stone. Said the Holy Prophet ﷺ, the Lord created the world before creating mankind, and he created the angels and the jinn. These creatures all glorified their Lord, saying, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. But even then, there were among them some disobedient to their Lord. One of them, the jinn, was called Azazil. Later he came to be known called Iblis, and he worshipped the Lord more than any of the others. He was the best of the number. So the Lord gave him a pair of wings that he could fly up and join the angels and learn from their ways. Once the Lord ordered them to make war on the disobedient, and in the battle they were defeated. Azazel was at the head of the fighters, and upon their victory, pride took hold of his heart. The Lord created the earths in layers, one upon the others, and between them he let scorching barren winds blow. The last layer of the earth is made of sulfur, in which which is fueled for hell for the unbelievers. After having created all the heavens and the earth, Allah Almighty ordered an angel to pick up and carry the whole of creation, so that the angel's feet might not be suspended in empty space. He placed beneath them a stone of red ruby, which was brought from the highest of paradise. Beneath the red ruby he placed the huge bull who carried the ruby, and the angel and all the heavens and the earths between his horns. The bull stood on a dome, and the dome rested on the back of a fish. The fish is swimming in an ocean, and the ocean is surrounded by air which is blown by the mighty wind, so that by the will of the Almighty everything revolves in orbit. As this verse of the Holy Quran describes, it is he who carried the night and the day, the sun and the moon, each swimming in the sky. This is the verse, the Prophets 32:8. Ibn Abbas relates, below the divine throne and above the seven heavens there's a river. This river is of light and is reserved for the angel Gabriel alayhi salam. He dips his wings into it, and from every drop that falls off them, when he shakes his feathers, Allah Almighty creates an angel which circumambulates the Bayt al-Mamur until the day of judgment. That's the heavenly Kaaba. From Kabul Akhbar, the Lord created the angel Israfil alayhi salam, who inscribed the preserved tablets before all things. And then he created Gabriel alayhi salam, Mikael alayhi salam, and Azrael alayhi salam, who are the archangels and the messengers among all the angels. Israfil alayhi salam has 4 wings, one to the east and one to the west, one above majesty of the Lord. Israfil alayhi salam's head is above the divine throne. His feet are below the 7 earths. He has the most beautiful voice among all the angels. He is among the angels as David was among men. 500 years later, the Lord created Gabriel alayhi salam, the most highly favored of all the angels, whom he calls the loyal spirit of the Lord favorite. Gabriel is the bearer of the divine revelation to the prophets of mankind. He has 600 wings, and each one is made of a different kind of precious material, pearls, gems, multicolored jewels, and none but Allah knows their great beauty. Among his 600 wings, there is one which has an especially distinct ornament, and because of this, Gabriel alayhi salam is also known as the peacock of angels. Allah Almighty has appointed him to be the rouser of earthquakes. After another 500 years, Allah Almighty created the angel Mikael alayhi salam. He has 200 wings of precious chrysolite and other gems, and 1,000 faces. Each face has 1,000 mouths, and with each mouth he praises the Lord and transfers the rewards to the believers. He has 1,000,000 eyes, and each of these eyes cries for those who disobey the Lord, and he asks forgiveness for them. For every drop that falls from the eyes of angel Mikael alayhi salam, the Lord creates another angel who sings his praises and prays for forgiveness for the nation of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. 500 years later, the Lord of the world created Azrael alayhi salam, the angel of death. His place is between the heavens and the earth, but it's also related that he resides in the first heaven. He is always facing the preserved tablets, the plates of destiny. With his right hand, he takes hold of the souls of the believers when they die, and he places them into Ilium, a blissful place in paradise. With his left hand, he seizes the souls of the disobedient, the unbelievers, and he throws them into Sijin, a place in hell. The lords of the worlds created the angels called Kiramo Katibin, the noble scribes, and the Murakabin, who are intended for the correction of mankind. They write down all the good and the evil that has been done. The good deeds are written down by the angels on the right hand. As soon as one good is performed, it is written down tenfold, at the very least, that is to say, as meriting a tenfold reward. And some sources say 700 and some 4,000. The angels to the right are always busy writing down these good deeds until they grow weary of writing and can write no more. The Lord himself then takes over, and nobody but he, the creator of all creatures, can know how much they will be given by their Lord. As it is written, and God provides for whomever he will without reckoning. The cow, 2:12. As for the recording, the angel on the left, he is under the command of the angel on the right. Every time a sin is committed, he asks, "Oh, right-hand angel, have I permission to write down this sin?" And the angel on the right says, "No, don't write it down yet. Wait, maybe he will feel remorse. Maybe he will repent. Maybe he will perform a good deed that makes up for it. Make an ablution, pray 2 rakats, give salams to the Prophet ﷺ, read the Quran, and the Lord may perhaps forgive him before his bad action is written down." Engaged in this discussion, the angels wait for a full 7 hours. If the person after 7 hours shows no sign of repentance and makes no reparation for this failing, his left-hand angel will write down the deed once. Every person has about him 4 of these recording angels, Kiram Kutabin. 2 of them come to him in the morning and stay with him until nightfall. Then the other 2 take over the shift until the next morning. Each of these 4 angels have 640 other angels to witness what he is writing, and they never leave. Above the 7th heaven and facing the divine throne, the Lord created the Bayt al-Mamur, the heavenly house. It stands exactly above that place on earth where the much-honored Kaaba is now standing. Every day, 70,000 angels circumambulate this shrine 7 times, and they pray there. Near it is a river of light in which the angels bathe and don their ihram, the pilgrim's garb of light. When they are finished, other angels take their place, and there will be no moment until the last day when the towels of the angels will be interrupted. The heavenly house was created in paradise, and it is brought down to the earth, where it is stood until the time of Nuh, alayhi salam, the flood. Allah Almighty created the sun from the light of the throne, and from the veil around the throne he created the moon. The Lord created Jannah below the divine throne. For this reason, the Holy Prophet ﷺ said, "The roof of the Jannah, the paradise, is at the base of the divine throne." And paradise was created with all manners of delights, known and unknown marvels, and gushing streams of waters of Kawthar and salsabil of milk, and wine and honey. The Prophet ﷺ was shown these wonders on his mirage, his ascension. He saw these 4 rivers streaming by separately and yet springing from a common source. This source was housed underneath a dome. He asked the angel, "What is under this dome?" The angel answered, "Oh, messenger of God, you have the key. It is La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah." And he spoke these words and entered into the dome, where he saw a river springing from each of one of the walls. Around the circumference of the dome was written, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. From the first eye of the first beam sprang the river of milk. Out of the mouth of the He of Allah, the river of wine. From the eye of the second beam flowed the river of honey, and out of the last beam, Rahim, the waters of the river of Salsabil. The angel explained that the Lord would reward all those who say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim with the drought from those paradise streams. When Allah Almighty created paradise with all its delights and adorned it with all its unspeakable splendor, the Jannah said, "Tuba, great joy, to whomever enters me." The Lord of the worlds then spoke and said, O Jannah, by my name and by my might, power and glory pertaining to me, there are 8 groups of persons I will not suffer to dwell within your blessed confines until they have repented and returned to their Lord. Wahab reports that he asked the Holy Prophet ﷺ, O Messenger of God, why did the Lord create the paradise? And the blessed Prophet answered, Allah Almighty created paradise for many kinds of gems and also of water. The Jannah has a wall made of gold, and a wall made of silver, and a wall made of diamond, and a wall made of ruby. Its buildings are constructed of unimaginable precious materials. The soil of the Jannah is of musk, and its clay is of saffron. Its pebbles are of topaz and beryl. Those who reach paradise will dwell therein forevermore, and they will not come forth again, being eternally beloved by their Lord. The Lord also created hell, full of scores of torments and multiple horror. Hell has 7 gates. To each gate there are 70 mountains, and on each mountain there are 70 castles. To every castle there are 70 doors, and behind each door there are 70 types of punishments. Among these are chains and whips and fetters and hooks of molten iron. And I'm going to skip what it goes to in deep about the hell, because we're not going to be there, inshallah. And there's not much more. And from Wahid, the Lord of the worlds created the fire of Samum. From this fire of Samum, he created the Jinn. And the Jinn created we before the fire flaming. Il-Hijr 27. The first of the Jinn was named Marish, and the Lord created a second one to be his wife, and she was named Marija. They had a son, and they called him Jinn. From them they are derived all the clans of the Jinn, including Iblis. And the Lord gave them the earth to dwell therein, and they lived and worshipped there for a long time. So much did they worship that the angels grew amazed and said, O to the lords of the heavens and the earth, O our Lord, raise them up to the heaven, so that we might learn from them and follow their good example. So the Lord brought Iblis and then Azazel up to be among the angels, and he lived with them at the first heaven. Others remained living on the earth and remained righteous, while a number of them became sinners and transgressed the law, as did the children of Adam, alayhi salam, after them. And the earth began to complain of them to the Lord, O my Lord, have you created me that I should be peopled by disobedient folk? The Lord answered, O earth, be patient. I shall send prophets among them to lead them back to the straight path. Until that time, no prophets had yet appeared among the Jinn. The Lord sent to them 800 prophets, and they killed each other. At last, the Lord spoke to Azazel in the first heaven, and he said to him, Go, Azazel, go and fight the unbelievers of your people living on earth. Azazel obeyed and descended unto the earth and fought with the unbelievers, vanquishing them. Then the Lord sent down a fire from the skies, and it consumed them, so not a trace remained. The only Jinn left alive were the believing and worshipping Jinn. Again, Azazel prayed so eagerly that he raised up into the first heaven, or according to another narration, he worshipped so much in the first heaven that he was raised up through all the 7 heavens and above them. He worshipped on the earth, he worshipped in the heavens until Adam alayhi salam was brought into existence. Then the Lord ordered all the angels to bow down before Adam alayhi salam, and all the angels obeyed except Iblis. So they bowed themselves, save Iblis. He refused and waxed proud, and so he became one of the unbelievers. Rakal 34. From Hassan al-Basri, Iblis worshipped above the 7 heavens for more than 70,000 years until he was raised to the station of Ridwan, which is the very high station, Ridwan being the guardian of paradise. Iblis was the guardian of paradise for 1,000 years. Once he read an inscription on the gates of paradise, and it read, There is a servant among the most highly favored servants of the Almighty God, and for a long time he will be obedient and serve his Lord well. There will come a day, however, on which he will oppose his Lord and disobey, and he will be driven from his gates and be cursed. Iblis, who has then still called Azazel, read and worshipped at this prediction. How can that be, he asked. That one is the closest servant to the Lord should grow disobedient to the Lord of the world and be driven from his holy nearness. Oh Lord, he pleaded, give him permission to curse that rebellious one, whoever he may be. The Lord gave him permission, and Iblis showered curses upon the future sinner for 1,000 years, knowing not that it was to be himself. There, it is a conflict of opinion between people as to whether Iblis was of the angels or the Jinn, but it is written in the Holy Quran, he was of the Jinn and committed ungodliness against his Lord's command. The cave, 50. Because of his extreme virtue and the intensity of his prayers, and the Lord raised him up into the heavens to live among the angels. When the Lord ordered them all to bow down and prostrate before Adam alayhi salam, he refused, and his hidden disobedience was exposed. This was the order of the creation. First of all, the reason for it was created, then the soul, after this, the pen, the tablets, the divine throne, the divine court, then the heaven and hell, and people, after the jinn, the earth, and the children of Adam alayhi salam, and finally the most perfect creation. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. إلى شريف النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم عليه وصحبه الكرام وعلماء الشيخين في طريقة النقشبندية تعالية خاصة على روحي إمام طريقة الشعبانيين نقشبند محمد ويسي بخاري والمولانا سلطان أولياء عبد الله البارستاني وسلطان أولياء مولانا الشيخ الأعظم الحكاني مولانا الشيخ هشام قباني شيخ الإمام قباني وصاحب سلمان محمد mahdi عليه السلام وسيدنا عيسى عليه السلام وسيدنا علي عليه السلام والصديقين الفاتحة. Sorry if